You are listening to the On Purpose Podcast, your guide to living a more purposeful life. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's an honor to have you here. I got to tell you, though, fall is in the air. I'm wearing a flannel as I record this episode. If you want to see actually what I'm wearing, hop over to YouTube. We're starting to put the video editions up on YouTube under podcast over there. So if you want to see what we look like, feel free to watch it over there. It'll come out a day or two after all the audio podcast feeds are out. So just watch for it. Be sure to hop over to YouTube and like and subscribe on our channel there, the On Purpose Podcast. And man, thank you all for being here. You believe this spring will be 5 years of doing this show every Thursday. And I'm honored for the space in your life, and it just keeps getting better. I feel like we're really catching our flow and just always improving stuff. So this week I am excited to share with you a personal story of achieving the American dream, and following up kind of on John Fabricatori's interview and Brenda Mojica Rice. I'm fascinated with people that still come to America pursuing this dream, right? Because I think sometimes Americans, we lose sight that a lot of the world dreams of the lives we're having here. We lose sight of our problems and troubles being dreams of somebody else. And this week's guest, Serban Mare, came to the United States from Romania with only $200 in his wallet, and within a short time achieved the American dream, right? He had a house, a career, a family, a retirement. He got to take 2 vacations a week. But what I really loved about him and what drew me to his story is he then dreamt again and recognized, like, wait a second, this is the American dream, but was this my dream? Or was this just what I thought I was supposed to dream about? So I sit back this week, enjoy the conversation with Serban and I, and let us know what you think. Comment on the social media, on YouTube, and thank you as always for tuning in each week. Enjoy the interview. Serban, welcome to the On Purpose Podcast, my friend. How are you today?
I am fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I love when people say fantastic. That's my favorite way to answer that question. Like, people say good, I'm okay, I'm all right, but fantastic, that's the way. What makes you fantastic this morning?
I would say, why not? Right? It's just being alive is always a great reason to be fantastic. But I try to live my life, like you say, on purpose.
Man, you might be the most professional guest ever, Serban. We're already off on a good foot here.
That's awesome.
Dude, I'm so excited to share your story. And as I was telling you off air, what captivated me was that you came to the U.S. from Romania with like $200, and you just had a desire to live the American dream, which I think is noble. And I think many people around the world have that. And like, immigration is a huge issue right now. We got people coming to our borders trying to live an American dream. But beyond that, what really caught my eye was that you achieved it. You had this success, and then you're like, wait a second, I don't have to be done dreaming. And now
that is well said.
Wow, I took it from your stuff. You're doing it, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, that is the right thing you said. I came here thinking that there's this ideal American dream that everybody painted for me, and I just went with it, trying to achieve it without really thinking what is really my dream and what I should be pursuing.
I love it. All right. We can't get too fast ahead of ourselves here, man. We got to slow this down for you. All right. You just went on a run. You said right before we're airing, yeah. But you don't just get out of bed and start going. You got to warm that body up a little bit. Maybe a cup of coffee, some water. So I got to warm your brain up a little bit for us. We're gonna do our warm up. Serban, are you ready for our warm up?
Okay, let's do it.
All right. All right. I'm excited because I don't know where your answers are going to go. So this will be intriguing. You are on a deserted island for the rest of your life, and you get to eat one thing. What do you want to eat?
Can it be a meal, or does it have to be one product?
I'm down for the meal. I'm intrigued. Give me your
Yeah, yeah.
meal.
I would go, especially because I haven't had it yet. It's still early morning. My oats, my what I call my super oats, which
Oh,
is I mix them oats with some protein powder that makes it really chocolatey and flavorful. I put a banana in there. I put some nuts, some seeds. It's just all around balanced breakfast. And I've been eating that for 11 years every morning. So I could still go on. Put me on an island, give me that, I'm fine.
all right, you're very consistent, my friend.
That is my superpower.
All right, well, that leads us right to your next question. You get to have one superpower. Why do you want it, and what would you do with it?
Mm. Uh, okay, I'm tossed between being bulletproof, kind of like Superman, being able to withstand anything, right? I think subconsciously everybody wants to have that superpower to not get hurt. But then, to be honest with you, I'd love the movie Limitless with the notion of just assimilating anything and everything and just retaining it. So
Oh,
I would say that that would be a preferred superpower.
okay, nice. Favorite book?
Ooh, favorite. Again, I'm tossed between Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck, but I also love, and it's kind of switching in between depending on where I'm at. It's Sean Archer, The Happiness Advantage.
Okay.
That one has a lot of information and studies about the science of happiness, and it has been instrumental in my life to not be just okay when I wake up, to be fantastic.
Ooh, I love it. All right, I'm gonna add that to my reading list because I've not read that one. What's
It's an awesome one.
what's been your biggest takeaway from that? Like, what was it?
Ah,
Something that you read and you were like, okay, I got to put this into action.
I mean, the biggest. I mean, we might get into this a little bit later, but I come from a pessimistic family. My parents lived in the communist era, so they didn't have a lot, and they've always been very careful and very pessimistic in everything that was happening in their life. And that one just naturally sipped in my subconscious. So reading the book and understanding that there's a science behind just being joyful and happy every day, it just boosts everything about it. Like your thinking expands, you're more prone to have good things happen in your life. And that's the big takeaway, is just happiness is a choice, and it's a very beneficial one.
I love it. All right, you get to have dinner with one person. They could have passed on or still be with us. Who do you want to have dinner with, and what specifically would you want to ask them?
Hmm. My first instinct was, I keep giving two answers. My first instinct was Tom Billio, which is my mentor from afar. But to be honest with you, I would love to have dinner with Tony Robbins, because he has a way of just sipping into people's fears and subconscious and pulling the best out of them. So I would love to have dinner with him and ask him how I can be better. Like, what are my blind spots that I don't see that I need to see and overcome?
Wow, that's a good one. That's a good one. Now, would you offer him your super oat protein banana stuff for dinner, or would you have a real meal?
Oh, we would do breakfast, not dinner, and he would love it. He would
He
love it
would.
because it's very balanced. It has all the fats, the carbs, the proteins.
Oh
So
man, that would be a high energy meeting. I would love just to watch that one.
yeah, he is an intense guy, isn't he?
He is. Yeah, yeah. He's intense. And you're right, man. He does a very, very good job of getting people to step into their fears and
Mhm.
to kind of get behind the veil that we put up for our lives at times and get to some truth.
Yeah, yeah. I do think that we all have, we all feel powerful, but we all have our dark side, and it's always good to be able to know how to tame that dark side. So I think he would do a good job of pulling that out of anybody.
I think you're on the right track to get better by asking how you can get better, right? That's one of the
Yep.
first things is recognizing that. Well, how you feeling, Serban? You warmed up.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right, I
Good
love it.
questions. Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
love
well,
it.
honestly, it's one of my favorite parts because I kind of get to know people and the food on the island always throws me off depending on what we get. Never know what's going to be asked.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody said oats.
I'd have to go back. We've been doing this almost 5 years, so I got a lot of answers. I don't. There may have been. Really, the one that stands out to me the most is still my friend Scott Savage, who took agave so he could make tequila. That one,
Oh.
that one, that one always
the,
gets
the
me.
lifespan might not be that long, but he would enjoy his stay on the island.
Yeah, well, you could run from your island to his island to party, and then run back to your island.
We have just a bunch of islands and we
We
just
must.
share.
Yeah, yeah, we must. All right, Shaban, I want to tell you it's an honor to bring your story to our community, and
Thank you.
I want to start with your decision to leave Romania
Mhm.
and come to America. You hit on it a little bit. What was the basis for that, and what exactly was that American dream that you thought was possible when you made that choice?
Yeah, I mean the primary reason in Romania when I was growing up, there weren't a lot of options, and especially when growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, so that one was a big the reason why I wanted more money because that's the barometer that someone would gauge on their success, or at least that's what I thought. So coming to America and just working a day and making an income that I would make in Romania in a month was just mind blowing. I
Really?
went, I went to the store and I'm like, wait, I can buy two pairs of jeans with how much I worked today and still have some extra. Whereas in Romania, I would work a whole month to buy a pair of jeans. And I'm like, wow, this is incredible.
Wow. What was so? But you knew that information, so you were like on the internet or word of mouth. Like, how did you know that? Or was it media? How did you know that
Oh no,
Americans made so much more money?
we we had in Romania we had a few people going to
Oh,
America and living there for a while and then coming back and talking about how much money they made, and I said okay, let me just go and see what this is all about and come in here and just the money aspect was great, but then just picturing uh, a better future for myself compared to when I was in Romania. I couldn't envision anything greater than maybe having some kind of a job that would help me survive. And coming here and knowing what the American dream is and being able to taste it, it kind of opened my eyes to the possibility. And wow, I can make so much more of myself by living here and working here. That is just it was a no-brainer. I want to achieve that American dream.
I love it. Now, did your parents come with you?
No, no.
Okay. So, what did they think when you told them you were leaving?
My one of the best thing, because you alluded to this at the beginning, I did have $200 in my pocket when I came here, but I also had a brother. My brother was already here.
Okay.
you know he was also the one who was telling me, okay, this is how much you can make here.
Okay.
So he offered me a mattress in his one bedroom apartment and said, okay, you can live here until you get yourself on your feet. And I came here, lived here, worked until I was able to contribute.
Where was your brother at in the U.S.?
In what sense? Living?
Yeah, yeah. Where did you, when you first came to the U.S., what city did you go to? What
Yeah,
town?
we're both in Phoenix, Arizona. Yeah,
Oh, so
we
you came straight to Phoenix.
straight here. Yep.
That had to have been a weather shock for you too, right? From Romania to Phoenix.
Oh yeah, and I came in the middle of the summer, so I can still vividly imagine the doors of the airport opening and the oven heat just hitting me in the face, and I'm like, what happened? Who left the oven open? Yeah, yeah. It was surreal.
Okay. What was your first job when you came over? What'd you do to start earning money?
I worked as a was it? It was more of a hands-on technician type of job. I studied electronics in Romania, but I came here and I was basically doing hand assembly on in a manufacturing company. So just started at the bottom. They didn't give me any kind of engineering job. I just, to be honest with you, I didn't work a lot before coming here. So that was the only thing I knew, is how to work with my hands. So I was just assembling some medical equipment.
I love that. You know what I love about that story is you came over and you started, like you said, you started at the bottom,
Yep.
right? And I think sometimes in our world nowadays, we want to start at the top. We don't want to do the hard work of working up. We want to just come in and be like, no, you should know who I am. I should start at the top.
No, I did not expect that. I mean, I knew in Romania, one of the benefits of living in a harsher environment is the fact that I would not shy away from work. So being in that manufacturing plant, having AC and having a chair, it was way better than in Romania. I worked a lot on the farm, helping my potatoes, helping my parents farm potatoes. So
Right.
I was not afraid of work, and that was actually very, for me, it was amazing work compared to what I was used to.
I love that perspective. What did your parents think when you decided to leave?
Yeah, they had mixed emotions. On one hand, they were very sad for me not being there, but then my mom always encouraged to for me and my brother to be together. So that was a hard choice that even they accepted, that it's better for us to be together, even though they feel sad now that we're so far away.
Sure. Do you get to go back and visit?
I'll be going there in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Okay. Very nice.
Uh,
So talk me through. So you come to America, you're working, you're building your way up. What what was the vision of that American dream? When you came over here, what did you think was like, okay, when I reach this, I have met it?
Yeah, yeah. And it's very much, I don't know if this applies to you, but for me it was just influences of what I saw in movies, what how I saw my parents grow up, and what I had my friends tell me. And that American dream composed of being a house owner, having a corporate job, with a badge and an ID, being able to save for retirement and just go on 2 vacations a year. That was the dream that I understood from all these external factors, and that's what I was shooting for.
And you achieved it.
In a long enough timeline, I did. Yeah, after about 7, 8 years, I've achieved all that. Yeah.
And what was that feeling once you got it? So you come over, you're living on your brother's couch, you're working at, like you said, at the bottom, coming up. And then within 8 years, you achieve the American dream. You have a house, you have an ID that you get to scan in and out, you get to work crazy hours to take 2 vacations a year. And then what?
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you that for a few years, I was very proud and content with being there. I felt like I arrived. I felt like this is it. This is where what I was shooting for all my life. I've made it. I don't need anything else. And that idea was there for a few years until things started to erode slowly. It started things started to feel a little unright. I don't know if that's a word, but it just
Yeah.
didn't feel right.
What was that? What caused that? Was there a moment? Do you remember waking up one day and thinking like, wait a second, this can't be what I thought it was? Or was it an influence, or did you get around a new group of people? What brought that to light?
It was a slow drip, to be honest. It just slowly, as the days went by, and just looking back at the weeks and not being able to recognize it was just felt like I was on autopilot. Everything started to look the same, to feel the same. There was ultimately, now I recognize that there was no additional growth, intentional growth in my life. It was just I I hit this plateau, this complacency level, and it just did not feel right.
Interesting. So you 8 years in, you get to a point where you're stagnant. That's what we'd call it, right? No
Yep.
growth. We're just kind of going through. What was the first? I know you had quite a few mentors and leadership groups that you joined and listened to. What was the first thing that made you decide you need to start dreaming again?
Well, I can tell you it was a growing frustration. It was just I just started feeling more and more uneasy, and it is very bizarre where, on the outside things felt like they were great.
Right.
Everything was okay. I had my health, I met my wife, I had the house, I was saving for retirement, I was going on that vacation. If you look from the outside, it's like, why? There's nothing to complain about. But inside, things just started feeling worse and worse. There was just this growing anxiety till I got to a point where I'm like, there has to be more, right? This can't be it. And this is the point where I realized that, hey, for the longest time I was chasing what I thought was the American dream, but that was something that everybody else put on me.
Ooh.
And in
Yeah.
that point, I started to ask, it's like, what is my dream? What can I do that would make me feel my heart? That was the big question that I had that was making me uneasy. Like, is there something more to it?
Yeah, no, I love that. And I love when adults question their own
Mhm.
success. Right? Because just because we got success, we've achieved a certain thing, doesn't mean we can't think of something more, right? I think there's this imbalance of, well, I got to be grateful. I love gratitude, right? Like I love being grateful that Serban and I both woke up this morning so we could have this conversation. I'm grateful. But it doesn't mean I can't have another dream of like, well, I want to meet him in person. I want to go on a run with him. I think, right? Like we can have more dreams. So, what was the first dream, or what was the first thing you said? Wait a second, this might make me feel like I'm alive again. What was that first
Mhm.
step you took?
Yeah, to me, it ended up, out of this growing frustration, it ended up having to search for a better answer of what exactly I want to be that dream. And it got me on a journey of self-discovery. And I my wife was the catalyst for all of this, where she saw my struggle and my frustration and gently nudged me towards personal development. She actually said, listen to this Lewis House and Les Brown podcast. And in there, Les Brown is so eloquent of really
Great.
tapping into your subconscious and really making you think. And it got me thinking. And then in that at that point, I was so open for a change that I gobbled up everything that he said. So then I started going on this self-discovery. So it was a lot of self-reflection. It took me a lot of time to figure out what exactly it is that I want. But one of the big realization that came out of that is the fact that we as human beings, we thrive better when we're growing, when we're pursuing something. It doesn't have to be to reach for $1 million or become a rock star, but we just don't do well if we're just flatlining, if we're stagnating. And in that sense, I recognize that I have to compile whatever it is that my next dream would be. And that's when I started going on this self-discovery. Like, what would I like to do for my future? What would be a, a valuable dream of mine? I didn't know at that point, but that self-discovery and that deeper look, and I keep talking about the fact that passion is not something that you find. It's not something that you can look for at the bottom of the ocean or something hidden. It's really at the bottom of your heart. And that's what that self-discovery journey took me on for the first few years of this growing out of this frustration.
Well, let's stay on those first couple years, right?
Mhm.
As you're starting to work through passions and ideas of what's going to make you want to get out of bed every morning and live life to its fullest. What were some of the first steps you took to create new habits that led you down that direction?
Yeah, I discovered the idea of a growth mindset. And this may be very common knowledge for others. For me, it was just revolutionary. The idea that our abilities are not fixed. When we say like, oh, I can't do that, it's really we're putting a fixed mindset, a limitation on ourselves. It's I don't want to do that versus I can do anything that I want to do in my life if I have a strong enough desire. And for me, growing up in Romania, I was always told to stay in my lane, to not rock the boat, to just play as small as possible and just keep whatever I have. Is that communist mentality that my first 7 years of my life, my parents and I grew up in, that was ingrained in my subconscious. But this notion of a growth mindset, saying that, hey, I know you've achieved these things and this is the plateau that you think you're going to get to. There's another level. And in that discovery, originally I didn't believe it. I'm like, wait, I can do more than this? I don't think so. But let me put it to a test. And I went on this. First and foremost, I'm active, but I've never really pursued it in that sense. And the first thing that I did is to try out a growth mindset. Was I've always told myself that I am not a runner. I hate running.
Love it.
And I'm like, well, let me put this growth mindset to a test. And then I went and run a few miles, and then I run a few more miles with the idea that in due time, if we want to get good at anything with practice and dedication, we can.
Yes.
So then I ran to the point where I signed up for a half marathon and did it. I ran a marathon, and now I ran over 4 marathons.
Nice.
And that one just proved to me that, hey, yes, we can achieve more than we think we can. That limitation is something that we inherited in our childhood, but we're not stuck to that.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. And it's so funny you talk about running, because I literally just did a video a couple weeks ago after one of my runs, and I talked about I hate running. I literally don't like it. But I know if I don't like it, it's probably good for me. Right. And then I do it. And then afterwards, I'm like, oh, this was great. I do love it. Here's something I find interesting, Serban. You came to the United States to create this American dream. So you had to be open to possibilities, right? But even once you achieved it, then you shut down possibilities.
Yes.
Isn't that crazy that we do that to ourselves? Even though at one point in our life we're open, then we can close doors, sometimes even subconsciously.
Yeah. I mean, those dreams were set from others. They weren't necessarily my dreams. I just knew that those were the higher echelons that I could reach. And I was believing in the fact that I can reach up until that point, but then there was that limitation. Up until after that, there's no way.
Right. Yeah, that's great. So how did your circle take this? Because I like asking this question. So what I mean by the circle is your friends, the people that are right around you. Because a lot of times when we want more in our lives, it makes people around us uncomfortable.
Yes.
How did your circle take it when you're like, wait a second, I want to do something different than what I'm doing right now?
Yeah, it's true. There was, as I began on this journey, there was quite a friction, because I have a Romanian community that I hang out with, and they're amazing people and kind-hearted, and they're such a great support group. But I did notice that as time went by and I've diverged from this regular path to creating my own path, that they did not understand it.
Okay.
And it was difficult for me, because that was my tribe, that was my group, that's where I hung out. And when that friction started to happen, I only had two choices: is to stay in that tribe and just constantly have to explain myself on why am I doing this and not being understood, or just separate myself. So I'm still part of the community, but I limit myself on how much I share with them, because they're not yet at that place where they're on their different journey, right? And I have to respect that. And it's cool. We hang out and we talk about things that we've done in the past, and it's great. And I go on my own path, and I try to respect theirs, and I'm hoping that they're starting to respect mine.
I love so let's explore that a little more. When you first realized that you had to start putting filters up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes we think we have to just cut people off if they're not all in with us and they can't belong. And I don't agree with that. I think you have different levels of influence around you, and people can be in
Right.
some circles, but maybe not super close anymore. What were some of the ideas you had or strategies you used to start changing that inner circle, right? If these people aren't believing, who do I replace them with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you're right that I had to create some kind of a barrier or a boundary between what I'm now, the journey that I'm on, and where they're at. And we still meet and we chit chat and we talk about things that are relevant to their world, and we're still good friends. But I also have that other side that they might not be that excited about, and I'm building it and loving it and living it. And that part, I'm sharing it with another tribe, a group of other friends that I surround myself with.
Good.
And to me, it's more of a we have different relationships with different people, right? At work you have a certain relationship with your colleagues that is not the same as you would with your spouse, right? So we have different levels of friendships, and that's how I see it.
What was there a moment, a defining moment where you're like, okay, I'm on the right track? Because sometimes we're not sure, right? We want more
Mhm.
happiness. But we maybe don't know the right answer the first time. Maybe we try something and it doesn't work out. Maybe we try something and it doesn't work out. And maybe it's the third thing we try that we're like, okay, this is actually it. Was there a moment or a process you worked through to find that path you wanted to go on?
Yes, I do remember one moment, and it's been a construction of getting to that moment, because at first I proved myself with running that I can do something more than I believe that I can, and then I figured, well, if that's the case, why don't I apply it in other areas? And one of the big areas that I struggled with all my life was my inability to properly communicate. Like, I was shy and introverted to where even in a meeting with 5 people, I would choke. It would be mind-wrecking to say my name and what I would do for work. And the next step that I moved on to is to overcome my fear of speaking in public. And
Wow.
I joined a Toastmaster
Yeah.
group with the growth mindset idea. Originally I've joined, I think it was 2013. I joined the first time and I did a speech, and I was so completely terrified. I had that fixed mindset that I said, this is not for me. I can't do this. I'm never going to be able to speak in front of audience, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And then I discovered the growth mindset, applying the running part of it. I'm like, okay, I guess with practice, being okay to be embarrassed at first and failing,
Yeah.
and in a long enough timeline, we can get better at it. And I joined Toastmaster the second time, and I've been on this journey to where I've better myself in communicating, to the point where this is the moment where there's an international contest that it's called, that every club, every year they have this speeches that you do, and you go from club to area to division to district and so on and so forth, up until you can even go international. And I was at the area level, so I passed my club, won there, and then I'm at the area level, and I give my speech there, and it was a good speech, but the thing that changed it, that was the moment that I knew that this is something that I value, is an older gentleman came up to me with some teary eyes,
Okay.
telling me that my speech moved him because he knows the sacrifices that he had to do for his daughter, which is something that I was talking about in the speech, and that my words had an impact. And up until that point, I've never thought that I could have that kind of power to change someone's um, thinking or being
Yeah.
influenced in such a way that I can maybe help. So that's the moment where I realized that this pain of mine that there was of my inability to speak can turn into a passion. And that's the moment I decided I'm gonna go on this journey and see where it takes me.
Very nice. Yeah, we a lot of times we minimize the power of our own stories and we think only other people have stories that are worth listening to.
No. Yeah, there's a story in all of us.
Yeah. And that's honestly one of the reasons I created this show is just to share stories of people I meet. And that's amazing. Yeah, you never know what story you're going to tell is going to make a difference in somebody's life. So
Right.
after you do that speech, what comes next? And you realize, okay, I'm on the right track here.
After that, it when it comes to really building a dream is for me it's more of the dream is always great, but a lot of people have a lot of dreams, but they don't do anything about them because it's so abstract, and it takes an it may take an absurd amount of time. So I looked at it as like I want to speak on stages and be able to help others with my idea of a growth mindset, and I'm sharing my story, and that's the goal. And then I'm right here where I'm still learning to put three sentences together. And
Right.
then I broke it up and said, okay, what do I need to do? So this led me on a path of just being able to create my website and join as many clubs as I can where I get feedback and how I can get better, find mentors, and put in a lot of hours on practicing on how I can communicate better. And it's just that growth mindset idea of on a long enough timeline, I can get better. This is what I want to
Oh,
do,
yeah.
and it's just going to take a long time.
I think one of the keys you said there is on a long enough timeline, giving yourself time to have the highs and the lows and the rebound from the lows, right? I think we're such an instantaneous world that okay, I want to be a public speaker. I want to do it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing worth having comes without the struggles. So do you think, is there part of you that thinks that your Romanian background and seeing the people around you that struggle that gives you that toughness to continue to push forward?
I mean, one thing from my upbringing is the fact that I don't shy away from hard work. That has been instilled in me since a young age. That is, I keep saying that consistency is my superpower.
Yeah.
And then I think we all have it, we just forget it. If we look back on things that we've done in our lives, most of us achieved a lot of things and we overcome a lot of struggles.
Mhm.
But we tend to forget, and we tend to minimize those achievements. And I look at them in my past and I've started to recognize a pattern of this was really hard, that I had to come to America and revamp my life. And I didn't know how it was going to turn out, but it did turn out well. But it took a lot of time and effort and energy. Achieving the American dream again was a challenge. Running that marathon, whatever it is in your past, we have that arsenal that we can look back and say, yes, we've done this, and we can recognize a pattern, right? It took some effort. It was boring at times. It was frustrating. We wanted to quit. We said, no, it's not us. We can't do this. Other people can do it. And all of those, their ammunition that kind of confirmed to me that it's all in this journey. It's all in this just continuously working towards that goal. And here's the thing, many people focus so much on that finish line, they don't take the time to really embrace the fact of how much effort they're putting in every single day, and that appreciation of the growth that they had to go through to get them to that finish line. you know i I'm remembering the first marathon that I ran. It was I was just wanting to get to that finish line. Like all I can think of is finish line, finish line, finish line. And I was so happy when it was done. I'm like, I'm never running ever again. This is too much work. This is just too brutal. And that high lasted for maybe 2 to 3 weeks. And I was thinking, wow, all that work, because it takes 6, 7, 8 months to get ready for a marathon, all that work and for 2 weeks. So the second time around when I ran, every week when I ran, I was just grateful and happy that I was able to put in an extra mile. And that's the difference. We've all heard this, right? It's all about the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
But if you're really celebrating all the things that you do throughout your day, like going for a run in the morning,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
celebrating that.
For sure.
And it makes me feel fantastic because of it.
Yeah.
And that journey is the one that fuels me to get to that finish line.
Yeah. And something you said here that I want to explore a little more is you talked about your successes. You talked about going back and looking at your successes, your immigration story, achieving the American dream, public speaking. I think too many times we want to dissect our losses, right? Like something doesn't go right. We want to look, okay, why didn't this go right? But we don't give ourselves credit for all the good stuff we've done and give the same attention. Like you said, I started looking at these things and realized, okay, with long enough time and continuing to show up, I had success. So if I do that again, I could probably create success.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And this is again the value of a growth mindset, is the idea that we tend to just, whenever we're failing, we're looking at all the things that went wrong,
right?
And we just stop there. Whereas in reality, I don't look at it as failure as being a bad thing. It's just something didn't go right, and I have to readjust.
Yep.
And you move past the fact that, oh, this was bad and this was bad, and you're like, what can I do better next time?
Love it.
And what can I learn from this bad experience that would help me in the future to be better, to grow from it, to learn from it? And that's the challenge. A lot of people just lay down when they fail, and it's okay, for the first few days, depending on how bad it was. But then taking stock of what exactly went wrong and how can I do this better, it always helps us grow and move on and continue on the path to reaching whatever dream we have.
Right. And I like you said, I love the fact that, okay, if I do this and I'm struggling, I can look back on my past successes and take that system I used and try to apply it here, right? Like I know, okay, I wasn't good at running, but I kept showing up. Now I can run. So public speaking, I'm not very good at it today. But if I keep showing up based on what I did with running, I know eventually I'll probably get pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. Duplicate our successes.
Is as simple as that. And it's as simple as it is, it's very difficult too. And it's creating the habits of getting yourself into that mindset of just apply these systems.
Why do you think it's so difficult?
It all depends on what stages we are in our lives. I do think that when I was chasing the American dream, I was very hungry to establish myself. And once I established myself, I could have just relaxed and just be complacent in that place and not fight for it. And there's all different seasons in our lives. And sometimes when you're younger, you grind harder. But even when you grow, when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, you still have to be hungry. That hunger may not look like it was in the 20s, but it still has to have that hunger to grow and do something more than stay complacent. But it's people just, I've heard my mentor say one time that how does it go? We're only able to change when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change. It's so hard for us to change, right? And if we're not in pain for change, then we just remain the same.
Yeah. And I think I've heard that. And I think one of the great things conversations like this can do, and the spaces we fill and trying to reach out and inspire people to live those more purposeful lives is let's not wait till we get to pain to recognize, wait a second, it's okay for me to dream again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give yourself permission to dream. Just because I have dreams doesn't mean I'm not grateful for what I achieved. Doesn't mean I don't respect where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I want to exhaust every bit of talent I've ever had. I don't want to die knowing, man, if I'd have just tried one more thing, I might have really got this deal.
Yep. Yes. That pursuit. Plus, it's what we were talking about at the beginning is dreams look different from every people, for everyone. They just look different, and the challenges that people don't really think about, have that self-reflection on what is my dream, and that's individual. For each person, that dream may look different, right? You're traveling and you're living your dream, and your dream may be so different than other people's dreams, but the moment you know it and you live it and you pursue it, then you feel like you're living a fantastic life.
Right. You know what else it does? Here's the thing that I love. Your dream and my dream are different. They're supposed to be. But why do we have an energy? Why did our paths cross? Why are we here today? It's because we're both living dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And when you step into living your dreams, and when you step into living life with a positive energy, and like you said, fantastic today, you attract other people that are living similarly, even though the dreams are drastically different.
Yes. And here's the other layer, which I'm starting to recognize it more and more. And this is why we're here, right? I'm sharing with, we're just chit-chatting between us two, but in reality, our conversation hopefully will inspire someone to change. And that's the extra layer when it comes to pursuing a dream, is to try to not to just live for yourself, but try to live to help others. And you're putting out this amazing podcast, and you're trying with this information to give someone some hope, to help them learn something new that they haven't learned before. So you're helping someone else. I'm speaking on stages and doing seminars about burnout and help and happiness and fulfillment, again trying to help others. And I think a bigger dream is the moment where we're not only looking for ourselves, but we're trying to also help others.
That's very well said, my friend. Very well said. And I agree. And I think if you go all the way back in this conversation we had, when you realized you had achieved the American dream, there's very little helping others in there, right? Buying a house, having a yard, going on 2 vacations. That's all about achieving things, not making people better.
Yes. And it goes back to what we were saying at the beginning. It's the simplest measure of success in today's day and age is wealth, is money. And that blinds us. And until we do that self-reflection and we are introspective and figuring out what it is that we love to do with our lives, instead of what other people tell us we should measure our lives, until that point we're kind of lost. But when you know how much you need stuff-wise, because it's important, still it's important, right? I value security. That's why I have my home and I live in my home and I have my job as a program manager. But beyond that, what is it that we want to do after we achieve that financial security?
Yeah, fantastic. Serban, where can our community follow you, and where can they, get more information on your story and be part of your community?
Yeah, they can go on Instagram, Serban Mare, SERBAN MARE. That's my Instagram handle, and my website is the same, SERBANMARE.com. They can reach out to me either on Instagram or on my website, and we can still continue this conversation.
I love it. Serban, it's been an honor to have you on the show, my friend. And it's a humbling experience to be trusted to share people's stories with the world. And I can't thank you enough.
Oh, thanks for allowing me to share my story, and it was an honor and a great conversation. You have great questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my friend. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.